Bohemian Rhapsody is directed by Bryan Singer, which there's actually a complicated story behind that, but we'll get into it later.
Yeah, this movie stars Rami Malek and Lucy Boynton. And this film depicts the life of Fred Mercury, the lead singer of Queen.
So the story about Bryan Singer, he was the director for most of this movie, but then he was fired by Fox because apparently he was like showing up late, and sometimes he would actually like be absent from filming. Like there's one stretch where he like disappeared for like 3 days straight. So he was fired by Fox, and then he was replaced by a guy named Dexter Fletcher, who's actually directing the Elton John biopic, which is coming out next year. But he actually has his name still attached. Like I saw his name, Bryan Singer. I saw his name in the beginning. I was like, I know he directed it, and then I didn't know the whole story behind it until after we watched the movie.
Yeah, and I really think. I mean, I'm not positive. I wasn't there, obviously, but like I feel like that might have been one of the reasons why. Because I'm not gonna lie, I actually did like this movie quite a bit. I felt like it was a really good movie, but the first 30 or 40 minutes felt really weird. I felt like the content in the first 30, 40 minutes in each part was like pretty decent. Like I didn't mind it, but like it just felt really rushed. It felt really rushed.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say I like this movie like a lot. I didn't hate it by any means, but like I didn't like it that much. And like you said, the first 40 minutes, it just feel like they like each scene for like its own like contained episode, and not like in a good way. And it just felt like nothing built up to each scene that came after it. It was just like a whole bunch of disconnected scenes. So they had like a checklist for what they wanted to say or what they wanted to tell about the history of Queen, and they just like went at it back to back.
Yeah, it would. And after the first 40 minutes, I actually felt like this movie was like really good. I actually loved everything after that, especially the end of this movie. But we'll get back to that later. But that first 40 minutes, I don't really know what they're doing. Because, like you said, it was almost like they just wanted to bring up certain points, and just like, but they just rushed through them, and nothing connected to them. Like, there was a part whenever he joined Queen, and then like maybe like a scene or two later, they're being signed. Yeah. You know, and so, and I understand that true stories need to do that because it's hard to put entire life into one movie. Mm-hmm. But I have seen movies do it pretty seamless before, and so I really don't want to give this one a pass on that.
Yeah, and not only that, a lot of the beginning, like the first like 40 minutes that we're talking about, it just felt really bland, which is sort of weird to say considering this is about Freddie Mercury and he's like this larger than life person. But just everything that was about it, it wasn't like boring or anything. Like I was still interested in the movie. But like it just felt like really bland. There's nothing really like that special about any of the beginning.
Yeah. Well, for me, I'm a little different. I actually did like the content that was in the scenes. I just felt like they weren't strung together very well whatsoever. But I would really like to get to the positive of this movie because I did have a pretty decent amount of positives for this movie, especially after that 40 minutes. And even in those scenes, there was times whenever they had these little moments that I just loved. But the acting in this movie was absolutely fantastic. Rami Malek just like hit it out of the park with this movie. It was ridiculously good.
Which is kind of sad because we were actually going to be able to meet him when because him and a couple of actors from this movie came to Alamo Drafthouse here in Denton, but we missed out on that. But he did. I've never really seen Rami Malek in anything other than that, the museum. I know he's in Mr. Robot, but I've never seen that before.
That was the movie I realized. This is a good Fred Mercury.
Yeah. So, like, but he did, and not only did he like do amazing in acting, but he looked exactly like Freddie Mercury in a lot of these scenes. There are some scenes where I could tell it was Rami Malek, but other scenes it's just like
I know what you mean. Like, which is weird because I really don't think he looks like Fred Mercury, like almost at all.
Yeah.
There's even a lot of scenes in this movie where he doesn't look like Fred Mercury, but there's times in this movie, there's just little moments that you see and you're like, oh my goodness, that was Fred Mercury. Like, it's not the whole movie, like I said again, but like just these little scenes, and you're like, it just makes you so happy to see it.
Yeah, which I read that he looked like practiced with like a movement coach or whatever they call that, people who like study movements of people, and like he actually like practiced with them like a lot to get everything like perfect, like every mannerism of Freddie Mercury like perfect.
Now in this movie, the voice of Fred Mercury sounded just like Fred Mercury. It was insane. But like Rami Malek wasn't really his voice. I read that was a mixture of Rami Malek and this guy named Mark Mattel, who is a guy who's gotten a lot of appraisal for his Fred Mercury impressions. But whatever. But like what they did, which I don't know why they haven't gotten him to sing with Queen in that tour that went out instead of Adam Lambert. But whatever. But just the singing was spot on, you know, and really, I mean, you have to do that.
Yeah. In all honesty, I really did just watching the movie, because we didn't read about that until after we watched it. But watching the movie, I honestly thought they used recordings from Queen, like live performances from Queen back in the day for this movie. But it's insane that they actually used someone else. Yeah,
and you have to do that, because there's this new Elton John movie coming out, which could be really good. But from the trailers, the guy doesn't sound anything like Elton John. His voice does not sound like Elton John, which could be fine. Hopefully it's good. But this movie, whenever you have a voice, which I'm not downplaying Elton John by any means, but whenever you have a voice like Fred Mercury, which in my opinion is the best male vocalist of all time, whenever you have a voice like that, you have to get it spot on. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you're not going to get anywhere with the film. And this movie was spot on with that voice.
A surprising thing for me about this movie, which it's not really that surprising because the biopic, so there's going to be like drama in it. But I mostly went to this movie because I'm a big fan of Queen, and I was looking forward to seeing them create some of these songs and all this history with the band.
Yeah.
But some of my favorite parts of this movie were the actual elements that had to do with Freddie Mercury's like personal life, like his relationship with his ex-fiance and everything. That's the parts that I think were probably the strongest in this movie. Several months ago, I read a article, which I read it on a couple of different websites, that were reporting that this movie wasn't gonna talk anything about Freddie Mercury, about how he had AIDS and everything. And that was sort of disappointing. I know a lot of people were really mad at that, and I was kind of disappointed that they were going to do that. But I'm actually really glad that they didn't leave that out in this movie, because it's actually also another one of the really strong points of this movie.
Yeah, all the points about all the more dramatic scenes about his personal life were really just amazingly done. There were some scenes in this movie that really made me feel emotion for him. Like, I really felt so bad for him in some scenes, but it was never outrageous scenes that seemed like they're like, oh, let's try to make him cry here. Let's try to make him like really sad here. It was just scenes that's like, okay, I'm watching somebody and I'm feeling bad for him. I never felt like it was being forced on me to feel the emotion.
If you didn't know, Freddie Mercury was gay. And I actually really loved how they showed that, because it didn't feel like it was like forced in there. It felt natural. And I also really loved how they had his relationship with his ex-fiancée, which I don't know Freddie Mercury that well, but I didn't even know that he was like engaged to a woman. And I just really loved how they showed his struggle, because he loved his ex-fiancée, but he couldn't really fight what he felt inside.
They just were really understanding of each other. Even though it was a really hard thing to do, they were really understanding of it.
And then there's one huge thing at the end that I don't really want to spoil or talk about that much, but there's the end scene. It's just like a whole like 10-15 minute scene where it's just like a spectacle. Like it's just so amazing how they did it. And I'm sort of disappointed because the theater we're at, the sound wasn't that great. So I really recommend, if you see this movie, go see it in like a good theater with good sound. Because that was a really big disappointment, because I feel like it would be even more amazing seeing that ending and with a good screen.
Well, guys, we don't really have any questions today from IMDb, so we're just going to go straight into our grades. Overall, I really did like this movie. I felt like it had some really big issues in the beginning that had to do with pacing and had to do with editing, and really just had to do with just how rushed it was and how nothing really felt connected in the beginning. I didn't really mind the scenes that were in those, though. Also, I just felt like after that was all done, I felt like everything else just completely made up for its wrongs. Well, not completely, but almost completely made up for its wrongs. So I'm going to go ahead and say that Bohemian Rhapsody is 85% awesome.
If the rest of the movie was like the beginning of this movie, I was going to give it like a really bad grade. I was thinking in my head as I was watching it. But the last, I don't really know how long it was, but the ending and sort of the middle just really made up for a whole bunch of the wrong that the beginning did. So I'm going to say that Bohemian Rhapsody is 71% awesome.
Well, guys, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also, comment and tell us what you thought about Bohemian Rhapsody. Also, in the comments, let us know what is your favorite Queen song.
And don't forget to follow us on social media. We have Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all at 2 Awesome Men.
And as always, thank you so much for watching, and you will see us later.